In the mall, the heiress is being harassed by her ex. A cup of coffee spills all over her work. On heels worth $1 billion as she feels lost. Suddenly, a young guy appears at her feet. He kneels down, wiping the stain with his sleeve. This act drives her ex away. He rescued her. She immediately invites him on a date, but the young guy, looking at a bag, declines her. Before he finishes, she pulls out. The next day, she eagerly goes to his house to propose. Her parents want to know her profession. I'm a techos kid. Seeing her parents' shocked expressions, clearly, the match is out of their hands now. Their meeting was an accident. Sarah hails from wealth. She was supposed to be the sole heir. Non-blood-related brother. This made him her biggest rival for inheritance. But she just found out her brother seems to be dating a star. Finally got a chance to snooze. But suddenly, a strange man appeared. Can you help me? But the cute guy smiled at her, making it hard to refuse. With no choice, Sarah had to help this guy. They ended up taking the sheets together. Yet he kept getting closer to Sarah. Sarah found it hard to resist. Naturally, she couldn't keep investigating. The actress aimed to stop Sarah's search, so she used her charm as a distraction. The next day, Sarah passed by a cafe. She found it filled with single women, and they all looked towards the counter. She was a favorite among the girls. At that moment, Sarah walked in. She looked up. It was that cute guy from days before. But Ethan recognized Sarah. He even gave her a few discounts while she was paying. As a rich girl, Sarah found this trick petty. But seeing the heart drawn on the cup by Ethan, Sarah couldn't help but smile. It looked quite cute. But strangely, ever since that day, Sarah kept bumping into Ethan. One day, Sarah was at the mall. Ethan was there too. Are you following me? Ethan didn't care if Sarah believed him. He handed her the red rose he had. Sarah was speechless. Is this a new pickup tactic? A few days later, Sarah was at her office. Suddenly, she heard noise outside. Sarah was a bit angry, but the delivery guy insisted. He had to hand over the letter himself. He even wanted to see Sarah's id to confirm. Sarah got even angrier. She slammed her id on the table. But when the delivery guy picked it up, it was Ethan again. Sarah really began to doubt his intentions. However, Ethan was a bit wrong. He had always dreamed of becoming a priest. To achieve that dream, he had to juggle many jobs. Their story goes much deeper. Because Sarah's dad married into a wealthy family, this upward status made her work harder. She worked extra hard to reach her current position, but strong women often attract criticisms. That day, Sarah attended the shareholders meeting. She initially thought her talents were recognized. She never expected those old men. Their words were filled with crude jokes, feeling insulted. Sarah was extremely angry, but she couldn't risk losing the shareholders, so she vented her emotions while washing cars. It was a shorthand, but it made Sarah feel much better. Ethan offered to pay for the car wash. He only asked Sarah to buy him coffee. In the end, Sarah bought him coffee, but she sat there enjoying a steak herself, leaving Ethan craving her food. Sarah didn't elaborate on why she cried. She seemed to run into him everywhere. Are you pursuing me? It's hard for anyone to see it as pure luck. However, Ethan wasn't interested in Sarah at all. He had always dreamed of becoming a priest, but becoming a priest was like taking vows. His mother couldn't accept that at all, but Ethan was set on his choice. After a big fight with his mother, he chose to leave home. He resolved to work hard for his parents. After their retirement, he'd chase his dreams. And though Sarah was worth billions, but her life is a complete mess. She has turned her mansion into a pigsty. Save trouble. She even bottled tap water as ice water. One day, looking at her disheveled mansion, Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She casually grabbed a housekeeping flyer. She wanted them to clean properly. But what she didn't expect was the Korean agency was also short-staffed. They promised 10 people, but ended up sending only one strong boy. That the boy was Ethan, her old acquaintance. At this point, Ethan was unaware that the pigsty belonged to the sophisticated and cold queen-like sister. No wonder they needed someone strong. This luxurious house was in such a filthy state. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. Made even a woman's eyes envy. After everything was in order, Ethan noticed the mansion's light was broken before leaving. Staring at the shattered chandelier, Ethan sank into deep thought. How much would it cost to replace such a chandelier? At that moment, the homeowner is back, and once again, fate proves to be quite mysterious. The world's really small. Ethan said he could work for her to pay off the debt. Sarah kept shaking her head. She said paying cash is fast. Ethan then explained that he would come every day to do the housework until the chandelier stack is clear. Sarah was a bit uneasy about having a man as her housekeeper, but Ethan said he was about to become a priest. He's not into women at all. Sarah recalled the mess from before. This little man had indeed tittied it up neatly. Plus, her busy job needed a housekeeper, so she quickly agreed. The two went to the store the next day to buy essentials for housework. These two don't look like boss and worker. They look perfectly matched. Before long, Ethan was halted by a coworker. This made Sarah feel amazed. This charming, sunny boy before her. How many odd jobs has he had? He sees coworkers everywhere. Even the composed Sarah couldn't help but feel curious. That day was another exec meeting. A group of older men were talking about Insulting phrases like not suited for leadership. Even the one preparing to pour the wine was stopped, saying women can't pour their drinks. Fuming and hurt, Sarah had to make an excuse to leave. These boastful old men seemed to forget she had a brother, though the two often were at odds when they met. If you want to keep your job, show some respect to the boss, so you can just leave. That's still far from enough. That night, Jason returned to their gathering. He emptied the bottle before everyone, warning at parties, no one let his sister serve. I won't hold back. He left them with a cool, confident back. He got home from work. Sarah was too tired to remove her makeup. At that moment, the charming male servant was right there. Let me be your makeup remover. The doorbell rang. It was Jason, who had come over. Faced with his brother's surprise visit, Sarah hurriedly told Ethan to hide. If I tell him this is a hired nanny, no one would believe that. Ethan hid in the bedroom with the dog. Just as the two were talking, a sudden dog bark echoed. Yido got it, but pretended he wanted to peek. Sarah, flustered, decisively refused. Yido tactfully chose to leave and gave Sarah a box of exquisite candies. I must say, the once empty room felt lively with Ethan. It's much more lively now. It turned into a tidy home. His care for Sarah was incredibly attentive. At times, he'd even volunteered to be Sarah's sounding board, listening to her stories of tycoon treachery. Ethan's services went beyond mere babysitting, made Sarah wonder if he had unscrupulous motives. Ethan didn't hide it either. He bluntly stated he was after her money. It turned out Ethan was a volunteer teacher. He hoped to influence Sarah with his kindness to inspire her to give back. The rich woman chuckled inside. But you must exchange it for your smile. And Hope got it at once. He flashed a cute smile at Sarah. A smile from him is priceless. The next day, his church received $1 million donation. When the priest found out the young man had traded a smile for so much material wealth, he encouraged the young man to make good use of this talent. Understanding the priest's advice, the young man would occasionally perform smiles for the heiress. The church got many items. The church received various goods. And as his smiles grew sweeter, his relationship with Sarah deepened. The donations remarkably shifted from to luxurious goods such as computers and phones. And even more oddly, with each donation, Sarah felt the bond of love between people. She felt love and warmth. She began to transform. Her formerly cold heiress demeanor gradually faded. A sense of youthful innocence began to bloom within her, though at times she still upwardly tried to maintain her quaintly demeanor. Suddenly, the puppy dashed out. They hurriedly followed after it. Outside, they ran into a past star. The mood turned super awkward. Sarah met Ethan for the first time. It's due to her past brothers fling with the star. She planned to target them both, so when the actress saw Ethan living at Sarah's, she quickly got it wrong. I heard you came here to find my flaw. But now it seems I've found your flaw. Sarah didn't know how to respond. At that moment, Ethan stepped in front of Sarah. I'm not her flaw, I will leave. Then Ethan turned and pulled Sarah inside. The chandelier in Sarah's house isn't expensive, so he took out some money and a gift, formally saying goodbye to Sarah. Watching the pup show the pail, though Sarah felt 1,000 regrets inside, she knew she had no more excuses to keep this lovely boy any longer. At that moment, Sarah had lost her previous bravado, perhaps to leave herself a glimmer of hope. The 30-year-old asked this 18-year-old boy a question only a blossoming girl would ask. If I ask you out again, will you come? On Sarah's birthday, her father sent her a pot of marigolds, which symbolized that happiness would surely come. Sarah's heart felt a little warm. The next day came quickly. The family held a small gathering. Sarah thought it was a celebration for her, but at the party, she unexpectedly saw a celebrity. It turned out the party was for her brother and his girlfriend. Sarah felt blue, but then her brother revealed a gift. Turns out he remembered her birthday. Soon, the party was done. The mix-up with the star and Sarah stayed. Our Ethan is a kind-hearted and simple person. Don't lead him astray. He's going to be a priest, but her words pricked Sarah deeply. Sarah immediately dialed Ethan's number. Sarah wanted Ethan to come over. Ethan said he hadn't finished work yet, so Sarah turned and made another call. Ethan didn't take it to heart. Before long, a woman suddenly walked in. She said her boss wanted Ethan to come over. Ethan was about to explain he had to work, but the woman then spoke up. This shop is closing today because her boss has bought the place. Ethan and the staff were instantly stunned. This must be the power of the wealthy sister's charm. Scene changed. Ethan and Sarah are already seated at the table. He thought Sarah was mad again because of those older men, but Sarah said this time it was about family. The birthday dash she guessed turns out it had nothing to do with her. But Ethan frowned because he had seen Sarah's it when delivering packages. The birthday written on it is not today. Sarah quickly started explaining her actual birthday doesn't match the one on her head. Ethan silently remembered this. He called the waiter to settle the bill, but he insisted. After work that evening, Ethan waited for Sarah downstairs at the company. Sarah was quite puzzled. Why was the puppy soul made the first move? To her surprise, Ethan took out a box of birthday cake. He assumed Sarah hadn't had birthday cake on her birthday, so he wished to make it rain. Watching Ethan light the candles and slowly present it to her, Sarah felt a surge of emotions inside her. She spoke up. She received a pot of flowers on her birthday. The flowers' meaning was that it would bring happiness. She looked at Ethan. Could that happiness be you? Ethan was stunned by Sarah's sudden words. I like you. Ethan's expression grew more complex. I've always been friendly. You may have misread, but I love God more. Sarah took a deep breath. Clearly, she understood Ethan's meaning. Why are you being so cruel to me? After saying this, Sarah spun around and left. Ethan stood there holding the cake, his expression intricate, as if he was the one who was rejected. Back at the office, she didn't feel down about the rejection, not even shed a tear. Instead, she clasped her hands in a prayer-like gesture. She even prayed to God to get her puppy back. Meanwhile, Ethan, who rejected Sarah, had Sarah's confession replaying in his mind. Passing by a flower shop, he couldn't help but go inside. He asked the owner which flower symbolizes impending happiness. The owner showed the marigold, but then the owner also told Ethan that the marigold has another meaning. It symbolizes sad love and the sorrow of parting. At the same time, Sarah also saw this meaning. As the scene shifts, after work, Sarah is surprised to find Ethan waiting for her. He holds the marigold in his hand. Seeing Sarah approach, Ethan raises the flower in his hand. Although the happiness may not be mine, I still hope you receive it. Sarah's hope instantly turns into complete disappointment. At this moment, the kindness Ethan shows, it's just cruel to her. Then Sarah no longer lingers and turns to leave. But Ethan suddenly spoke up. Don't you have anything to say to me? Yet Sarah looked deeply at him, and her answer was simply no. Ethan was confused too. Maybe he lost track of when it started. His heart had already begun to waver, but this hurdle has to be crossed by himself in the end. Days later, Sarah's office welcomed an unexpected visitor. This man, who looks quite reckless, a man named Chad, has returned to Korea. Sarah's face showed a mix of feelings. As the daughter of her father and his ex-wife, Sarah is seen as qualified as heir, but her brother Jason is still the direct grandson of Chairman Lim. To compete with him, she'll meet backup. Chad was the one she planned to arrange a marriage with. He's the heir of the Che group. The pair have no feelings. Can this marriage alliance still proceed? But if she doesn't wed, she will lose her claim to the inheritance. Sarah looked at the marigolds in the office. She dialed Ryan's number. Ryan was in church, asking the priest. The priest clearly sensed the conflict within Ryan. He suggested that Ryan try on a priest's outfit. Perhaps he would find his answer within. Ryan donned the priest's outfit. He walked to the church entrance mirror, but just then, Sarah hurried to the church. She saw Ryan dressed as a priest. She thought he had made a decision. She stared intently at his clothing. Watching him descend the steps, Sarah's eyes began to well up. Could this be? Is this what you want me to see? Ryan wanted to explain, but Sarah didn't want to listen anymore. This time, Ryan didn't hesitate. Instead, he chased her straight to her home. Why do you like me? Because you're a handsome man. You make me good food. And you hear me out. He thinks Ethan is still troubled by his actions, but Ethan furthers that he knows Sarah has a fiancé. Sarah's face changed fast. Sarah felt deep despair. She knew she was at fault here. But I still fell for you. Sarah looked at Ethan in disbelief. She never expected that Ethan would confess his feelings for her. But before she could be moved, a man walked in. It turned out to be her fiancé. Chad looked at them with a playful expression. Sarah realized it was not the time to talk. Chad walked into the room. He acted as if he owned the place. He didn't care about what had just happened, since they were just in it for gain. Plus, she doubted Sarah would change for a man. She abandoned her ambition. He had come merely to tell Sarah that she had found Sarah's cheap half-brother, who was Jason's weak spot. Then Sarah approached Jason. It turned out Chad had given her Jason's medical record. After a car accident, Jason had developed severe face blindness. He couldn't recognize anyone at all. If someone exploited the situation, Sarah could make serious trouble for him. How can he collaborate? This would be a lethal flaw for an heir. But Chad never anticipated this. What he thought was a winning blow. Nor was he indifferent to her. However, this meant, as expected, Sarah's change of attitude in the market made Kyle furious. You despicable woman! Kyle irritably shoved money at a bystander. Sarah looked down on such behavior. Just then, Kyle witnessed the scene before him. This brown-nosing behavior successfully angered Kyle, providing her relief. Sarah promptly invited Ethan on a date, but the young man glanced at the bags and politely declined. I can't clock out until I sell these. Her gold-black card bought out all the designer bags. She and Ethan arrived at a street stall after leaving the mall. She still felt down at that moment. She thought Ethan had become a priest, so she intentionally acted carefree. I'll step back. Let you be a priest? But Ethan looked at her and spoke directly. Why do you want to step back? But Sarah sadly responded. She's a bad woman. She also lies well. Let's just be friends, Ethan. But Ethan smiled slightly. Can men and women be friends? Sarah stared blankly at Ethan at the family dinner the next day. Sarah suddenly spoke up to say she had something to say. She said she wouldn't marry Chad because she didn't love him at all. Dad is open-minded. He readily agreed with his daughter's thoughts. Brother seemed to know already. Her sister marriage had to spite him. This confrontation lifted everyone's burdens. No obstacles for the annulment. After dinner, Sarah walked out with her brother. I'll ask brother for the annulment. This was the first time Sarah genuinely called him brother. She had given up on competing for the so-called heir with her brother because now she has something far more important on her mind. A few days on, Troy, learning the truth, was furious. He stormed into Sarah's office, but Sarah calmly stood up. She told him she'd end their engagement. Troy angrily shouted he only helped her out of pity back then. He threatened her as he spoke. Seeing Sarah unfazed, Troy could no longer tolerate. What are you, a messenger? Troy saw he was just embarrassing himself. He could only leave in anger. I want you to see what I've given up. Ethan hesitated no more. Me too. Sarah smiled. Her choice was indeed right. Ethan returned home, having had a fallout with his family. Today he received a surprise from them all. His mother, who opposed Ethan being a priest, finally accepted it. However, Ethan felt awkward. He turned silently and went to his room. His parents were confused, but sister noticed something wrong. Could brother have a girlfriend? Huh? Parents looked completely unconvinced. She kept asking Ethan if he was dating and wildly inquiring about sister-in-law. Ethan was really annoyed. Just then, a luxury car suddenly stopped beside them. Sister gasped at the luxury car. Little did she know, a beautiful woman stepped out. Ethan actually found himself a... She wanted to shove him into the car. Afraid her brother might be dumped, Ethan got in the car looking speechless. They spent a pleasant night together. In the restaurant, Ethan's relationship was confirmed. He was having dinner with Sarah. They began discussing their futures. Ethan chose not to be a priest. He'll need another job now. Sarah was quite assertive. It's fine if you don't want to work. But Ethan didn't want that. He said he planned to study for the judge exam. Sarah was taken aback. The Korean bar exam is famously tough. Ethan unexpectedly smiled. He said he forgot to mention he graduated from Seoul Law School. Sarah finally understood. Any family would be against that. After dinner, Sarah drove Ethan home. They talked about meeting parents. At that point, Ethan remembered, given Sarah's family situation, he felt a bit pressure. But Sarah suddenly called out, "You haven't paid for the ride yet." At this level, are you not paying? Ethan finally stopped wavering. That day, Sarah went to pick Ethan up from school. As usual, her unique charisma instantly caught a classmate's attention. Seeing this awkward duo, Sarah hadn't planned to engage, but who would have thought that Ethan became jealous no matter how Sarah soothed him? Watching the cute smile on his face turn to a pout, that's when Sarah realized throughout their interactions, their relationship had subtly shifted roles. Now, Ethan was no longer in a dominant position as before. Instead, he had completely fallen for her. Thinking of what comes next, misunderstandings will surely arise at work to make Ethan stop getting jealous. And to not affect his studies, Sarah thought of a plan. She simply took a day off, feigning a wish to see Ethan's place. As soon as she entered, she directly proposed. I am